Okay, so I suppose that we can start with some small intro from my side, and we will give a couple of minutes to join us also. So first of all, we are glad to see you at our roundtable discussion on the topic Scrum as a game, to play or not to play, which is held on behalf of Global BA community and Agile Baltic community. So join our communities and stay tuned. During this roundtable discussion, we would like to talk about the concept of play and its application in Agile and Scrum methodologies. In this event, we will explore how the idea of Homo Ludens, play and experimentation can enhance team development and contribute to a culture of continuous learning. And we will discuss the benefits and dangers of incorporating playful elements into each Scrum events and how it can improve team performance. Also, I'm glad to introduce our speakers who will try to share their experience and opinions on the topic of the game and Scrum in the life of their internal team or some insights from their learning path. We can see Aleksandr, Aleksandras, and Ihar. You're welcome. And also, my name is Kate, and also you can see Tatsiana. We will be moderators of this roundtable discussion, and we will try to help you as the speakers and our audience to share opinions between each of us. One more point from our community side is our roundtable rules. So the purpose of the roundtable is to provide participants with an opportunity to express their point of view on the problems under discussion, and in the future to formulate either common opinion or clearly distinguish to the different position of the parties. So please do not be shy and share your experience also. The time of a discussion of one topic or block of questions by speakers is between 7 and 10 minutes, and the time for interaction with audience after each topic and block of questions is 3 or 5 minutes. During the roundtable, the audience should be muted, but cameras can be turned on that we can feel that we are alive and we can interact with each other. And one more moment, if you would like to ask a question, express your opinion, you need or raise your hand or write a question in the chat. And if you raise your hand, wait for the moderator to call your name and ask your question, express your opinion, or I suppose Tatsiana will read your question by voice. And I suppose that we can fully start our roundtable. Colleagues, the floor is yours, and Aleksandr, you can start.
Yeah, thanks, Katsiaryna. So I wanted to start with how did we came to this idea, to the idea of this talk. It came to us when we observed the book published by Johan Huizinga called Homo Ludens, or Man the Player. This book emphasizes the role of a play in our culture and in our communication, saying that it was present in all of our stages of our life. Even before the culture was in place for the people, animals were playing, and you can recall a lot of funny videos or memes with cats or dogs playing just for fun, because they like to play and they're intuitively playing. So play is an integral element of human culture, as Huizinga states in his book. And it presupposes human society even. So as an example of role of a play in and intuitive play in people's life, I can take an example of a court where you have different roles of a judge, of an attorney, and of an advocate. Even though at the moment people leave the court, they are stop playing these roles actually. So on the right in the highlights, I have put some quotes from this book and some characteristics of a play by the author, by John Huizinga. So he says that the play is free and is in fact the freedom, because players agree on the rules themselves initially when they create a play. So that means that you are freely making your play. And as soon as the rules are violated, you're not playing more. So at the same point of time, the play is separated from our real life on another level, which makes it distinct and which makes it different by locality and by its duration. So as I said, an example of a court, as long as you leave the court, you're not playing anymore. Then a little bit controversial to the first characteristics. I said that play is free. However, play creates the order, and play is an order. And play demands its players to follow this order in an absolute and supreme way. As long as these rules are being violated, no one is interested in the play. And the play, therefore, is not connected with material interest. No profit can be gained out of intuitive play. And out of this, we can see how much do we apply the play in different spheres of our life. Actually, if you come to a psychologist, you will always hear that there are different roles that people are playing in their lives and in their communications. So we identified that there are a lot of parallels between the concept of a play and modern practices of software development, such as Agile and Scrum. And in this discussion, in this roundtable and talk, we would like to land these characteristics, these ideas onto our work. So, Catherine, please follow the next slide. So here I have put some highlights of how people are actually playing. What is the purpose of a play and what makes a play so funny for us? One of the things that play is brought for is to foster the innovation, because during the play we're usually inventing something new, some new order, some new experiments, and we encourage experimentation and take some risks. So like remember, you were young, and while you were playing, you were always trying to reach the boundary or go over the boundary while you were playing. It's a kind of social experiment as well, because you're experimenting with new roles that you might take. At the same point of time, play itself, how to call it, it presupposes playfulness and creativity over rules and processes, because you actually usually play, the more creative the play is, the more you are to play it. However, still rules and processes are important and in place. Also, what I would like to say is that during creation of a play, you are creating safe environment and they create camaraderie and teamwork, because you are agreeing between different team members and team players, right? At the same point of time, when experimenting together with your teammates, you are learning new skills when you are reaching the boundaries, and you are learning new concepts together. You're using a lot of tools to describe your processes, and therefore also remember a lot of games and plays when you were young. You always had some visualization in place, because some imaginary processes are better described in some visual forms. And at the moment your play ends, you are to celebrate it, because you are taking some retrospective, right? And reverse back on what went well, what could be improved. So from these points, you can see that there are already some parallels between Scrum events and Agile ceremonies. And let's observe them on the next slide, where I try to map principles described in this book, Homo Ludens, onto our well-known principles of Agile and Scrum. So in Agile and Scrum, we have self-organizing teams. And John Huizinga states that teams and people are naturally inclined into groups that are engaged in a play. And that's true. When we jump from a project to project, we see how different our organization is just because of how we do agree and how do we split the roles. Talking about the roles, yeah, we always have our own roles in a project, and no matter, well, actually that matters what our title is, but still, in your title you can play different roles on different projects, which makes each project or each play different. Speaking of visualizing, yeah, we are all familiar with Kanban board, and we usually use some form of cards or markers to depict some processes of our play. Then Agile, and a good example of it is a Scrum, follows kind of an iterative development to identify clear goals for each sprint, for each I don't know, epic, for each quarter, and so on and so forth. So we have clear roles, clear rules, and clear feedback mechanisms. This is very closely lands onto Agile and Scrum. Our sprints or our spikes are experiments. When we research something new, when we concentrate on any experiment, on any hypothesis, which we then evaluate on our retrospective sessions, and where we reflect on past and see once again what went well, what could be improved, and gather some feedbacks. So this is a theoretical part of my speech, and here I'm passing my words to my colleagues Aleksandras and Ihar, who will be speaking this, just going event by event, and let's see how can we apply it practically. Which practices can we use to apply the play?
Okay, so let's play some game then. So as Alex already said, we're just trying to look into every single event we have in Scrum and what possibly we could do to actually do more play or be cautious about those things, and that's why we called it less play. So what could be the risks of having those playful things that we will talk about. So talking about the daily Scrum, as you are aware probably by working in those teams, we have sometimes different problems by running the meeting, too long, or the meeting is not that, I don't know, engaging anymore. So there are several things that could actually spice things up. Or just to have some kind of the things to not run it over the time as always. So for example, for physical meetings, there's a possibility to use different tokens to ensure that only the person who is holding one speaks. For online meetings, it's a bit tricky, but yeah, with creative things, we could also, I don't know, create different tokens. Maybe we would need to use an additional tool. I'm not sure if we could do this just in Teams, but of course, there's a possibility. Also, to make things more interesting, for example, we could start the meeting with a check-in question. So you can just start a daily stand-up with different question all the time, or it can be, random thing, just a randomize like once a week maybe. But as an example, the question could be, what is your favorite book? And this helps, to break the ice for the meeting. And also you get to know a bit more details about your colleagues who you're working with. So the other one is, again, going back to the long meetings that are running longer than 15 minutes. So there are like fun things that could be done. So, for example, standing on one leg when we are doing daily stand-up. And of course, when you're standing on one leg only, it could be difficult, to do it for 15 minutes. So it shortens your meeting just by doing that. Or I don't know, you could even think of some different other different physical activities. For online meetings, additional things that could be used, for example, using avatars for the tasks that you assign in Jira, for example. So rather than using your official photos, you can use avatars And yeah, or you can even create a theme. So for example, right now in the project where I'm working, we have this Marvel theme. So it's like everything's around Marvel, and yeah, different teams are named with those characters. So you can be creative about that. And the last point here is we could use different Microsoft Team backgrounds. So for example, I'm using the background as you can see, and I always use this background even in the official meetings. So yeah, for me it just creates more fun. Or we could also use, you know, when we are doing daily Scrum, we could use all-in-one mode where you choose and then everyone is sitting under one table, or I don't know. There are like different backgrounds right now when you're like underwater or in a spaceship or somewhere else. Yeah, so those would be the suggestions to be more playful, and Ihar will tell you more about what could be the risks of having it.
Yeah, hey guys, one more time. Thanks, Aleksandras, for your great points. I would propose you guys some another side of the medal. And if we are, for example, considering our daily scrums or daily stand-ups meetings by using any kind of physical things like coins, tokens, etc., may lead us actually to cross-functional dysfunctions of our teams, like not self-managed team, like we're all going to do it, where people will be waiting only for their speech, only for their speaking, instead of discussing a problem. As a result, we won't be able even discuss some problems and just will be waiting only for our turn to speak. And as a result, our daily Scrum events may be considered and may be transformed from the daily Scrum to original reports meetings, which actually is not good for us, because we won't be able again to discuss and to solve any kind of problems that we are all facing all the time during our implementation phase. So regarding kind of any physical activities, like Aleksandr said, standing on one leg or something like that, in our in our modern and not so easy time, and to some outside factors like COVID, etc., more and more teams are working, of course, like again Aleksandr said, remotely, and it's not actually provide us any kind of abilities to work together in one place, and any other fun activities may be considered as over fun of our teams, and some people won't be able even to join because of some activities like standing on one leg, etc. And also we should consider all the time that we have only 15 minutes for daily Scrum event, and it's not so much time, and to discuss everything about everything, it's not always a good idea as well. And the last point here from my side, considering and using fun avatars or any not related pictures may be considered from our customers' side as a non-serious things, and the team can be considered as non-professional, because not all people are great fans of, for example, Marvel ideas or cinema ideas or any things like that. So guys, please be aware about engaging some non-related, not working related pictures or avatars here. Yeah, probably that's all about this event that I wanted to say here. So
Okay, thank you guys. And now we can have some time to discuss it with our audience. And as I previously mentioned, first of all, you can use your mobile phones, use our code for Minty, and express your opinion about should daily Scrum be more or less fun. And also during this time, you can unmute yourself and try to share your experience or your thoughts on this point. And Tatsiana, possibly we have some questions in our chat.
No, so far we don't have any questions, but I guess if anyone would like to share their experience, for example, maybe some of you have been standing on one leg during the Scrum or something like that, or maybe you have set the picture of your cat instead of having a photo on your avatar. Please, you're welcome. We would like to see how do you play the games during the Scrum ceremonies, or you are more strict? That's very interesting for us.
There was a meme recently that we can make our Scrum meetings last less if we would be standing in a plank. So very close to what Aleksandr was speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was mentioning the different physical activities, like doing push-ups or pull-ups.
How to shorten 15
How to
minutes
shorten.
daily Scrum. Yeah. Okay.
That would be very Swedish thing to do, because I used to work with the Swedish colleagues, and one of the colleagues told me a story how his friend went to the company. It's like a startup, and then he joined this company, and basically he has just 4 colleagues, and like all the 4 colleagues, they're all preparing for an Ironman. So it was a good thing that that person is also like a triathlete, because all of them are, you know, super into endurance sports. So maybe they could do the planks during stand-ups.
Mhm. All right. Looks like more people playing.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes yet to express some opinions, if you would like to do it. Okay, so I suppose that we can move forward to our next event, and it will be Backlog Refinement. So, guys, please share your opinion.
Yeah, so Backlog Refinement in itself is not a Scrum event. It's not as an event in the Scrum Guide. So in brackets, we even emphasize that it's a process rather than event. But still, when we do the Backlog Refinement sessions, we can add different playful actions into that event. And some of the things will be like clearly things that you have done and you have heard about, and they just come so natural that maybe sometimes you don't even think about them as fun things to do. So for example, poker planning, you know, where you just show a number for a story that you're discussing. So initially those cards were created just, you know, to have the discussion, because if we would look essentially of what we do by estimating the stories, it's just to kind of create the discussion around that story, so that all the people would be included in the discussion to understand what the story is all about. So that's how this poker planning was created. And yeah, it sounds like poker, so it's fun. You know, people think that they will play poker, but instead they're just voting for stories. Another thing for estimations could be done not by numbers, but by something different instead. So for example, we could use t-shirt sizes. This one is actually quite a popular thing to do, maybe not on the story level, rather on the epic or business initiatives, where you try to understand how big the big piece of work is. So it's either like S, M, or L. But to make it even more fun, you could use animals, for example. So you can say that, okay, this is a reference epic and it's a cat. So then this different epic, is it an elephant or is it a mouse? So yeah, this is just, you know, another fun way of estimating. Also, just recently, I have seen how refinement process could be done in general. So for example, the refinement process could be played as a board game. You know, those like old board games where you just throw the dice and then you just have this thing where you kind of go through different like circles, or you go just, you know, from one place to another. So like from A to B. So there's this guy who created this refinement board because during the refinement you have to go through different phases, right? So then every single phase is kind of as if in the board game. So it's like you gather as a team, you play this board game, and you take a user story that you're gonna refine, and then of course you kind of follow all these steps to understand if you checked all the marks. And another one is backlog refinement cards that I also used in my previous experience. It's very simple thing actually. This is just the cards created for the process, and the idea behind that is especially useful for new teams where you have those cards. Every single team member selects a card, and it's basically you have a role and you have a role to check on specific phase during the refinement process. So then you know, you check if it's, for example, you have definition of ready, and then you check if every single part of it that you're discussing meets that specific criteria. So it's, you know, kind of engaging thing with those refinement cards for all the team members to participate in this process. Yeah, so that would be my take in on the refinement, and I can pass the word now to Ihar.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Fully support that using any kind of abstract points instead of hours by many different reasons. It's a really good idea, but we need to be really accurate with estimations in any different things like penguins, dogs, cats, and other animals because of some factors which can be considered, again, as I said, for the previous event, can be considered our customer as non-professional people. If customer sees such estimations as well. For example, let's imagine that your customer sees that you are doing some kind of task during a sprint for one cat, and he or she wonders, what does it mean, one cat? How long is it? It is really unknown for him, and it can be considered as well like, what they doing, why they doing it. I don't understand fully what they doing at all. And guys, if you are using such again such untraditional, I would say, approaches like cats, dogs, penguins, elephants, whatever, please be really careful with that, and at least make sure that your customer understands what you are doing right now and what does it mean, especially such cats, such dogs, etc., etc. And for sure, our main priority is to have a clear vision and estimated product backlog items instead of having so much fun during the session. So please, again, be careful and remember all the time that our main agenda for backlog refinement is to set up clear vision for our items. It is really essential for us, and we shouldn't forget about it anytime, even if we're trying to grab more fun in such refinement process as well. So yeah, probably that's all from my side. It's up to you what to choose, and actually we can vote at least, and we'll see.
Yes, so also please vote for more play or less play approach for backlog refinement and the whole process of backlog. And also you can share some maybe funny or not funny experience and moments from your projects and from your experience, or express your opinion based on this, based of all above mentioned.
I can say that, to my mind, backlog refinement very rarely fits into the time box assigned, because it's a very, very complex and usually a massive meeting to fit into the short time. Therefore, sometimes you need to be more focused during these sessions. Otherwise, you need to have more and more such sessions.
so true. In some cases, it's really exactly that you're saying.
It's interesting how people are voting more play on backlog refinement. I thought it's gonna be the opposite, because usually daily stand-up could be the one, you know, more playful, and I thought this one's gonna be like less play, but no, people are thinking we should have really playful backlog refinements. So it would be interesting to hear from the audience, maybe your experience, how you do backlog refinements today.
Yeah, it looks like refinement is an entertainment for business analysts who usually conduct these refinements. So it's really interesting for us if you should share your opinion and your experience here, I guess. Because me as a business analyst, for example, I don't know how to make it more funny. But today maybe I have some ideas from your side and probably will adopt them to our refinement sessions. But to be honest, we try to fit into the scheduled time of the event. So for now, we don't have any questions, and no one would like to share the opinion or experience, so we can proceed, I guess.
Sure. And we will continue with our next event. It's sprint planning.
Okay, sprint planning. So I've been actually thinking about the sprint planning itself as an event and what playful things could be done, and to what I try to summarize, sprint planning, to my understanding, is the least playful event from what I could try to find, you know, from the fun activities you could do. So the only things that I thought about is, well, first of all, when we book the event, we could have some kind of the creative name for the sprint planning event itself. So from personal experience, I could tell that we used to book events. It was actually even more for the PI planning session when I used to work in safe environment. So we used to call our PI plannings like war room, because you kind of gather there for, you know, 2 days. So it feels like war room, where you're just sitting, you know, like in a bunker and planning something. Other things that could be done is sometimes people use this sprint name generator. So basically you just generate a sprint name, so it creates some kind of the fun unique name for your sprint, and then every single sprint you don't know what that's gonna be. So this is like, you know, just like a randomizer for you, and I don't know, just spice basically your sprint planning itself. And yeah, when it comes to the event itself, that could also be probably done as a process from those refinement cards. So for example, when you have refinement cards, you could apply something similar for the sprint planning event. Of course, in sprint planning, usually if everything is correctly refined, you would only have to do just, you know, several things. So of course you start from why you kind of write this sprint goal, and then you add the stories that you would like to do. So like essentially not that many fun things could happen, but yeah, this is what I thought, you know, just having some kind of the unique names, unique unique name for the planning, and also could be done in the board game kind of setup, where you also follow some kind of the plan, and then you gather as a team, you follow that, and yeah, voila, we kind of created a plan. We have our goal, we have the issues, and we are ready to go. So basically that would be my that would be my thoughts here.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Alex. But on another hand, to have stable and consistent sprint names, it's really crucial and essential for us, again, because if we are working with a kind of scaled agile frameworks like Safe, Less, Nexus, etc. And by using consistent sprint names will give us transparency, firstly, predictability, secondly, clear processes, and generally non-contradicting things. And as a result, we won't mix our tickets if we will consider, if we're talking about doing some things. Let's just imagine that you're on a PI planning with the different teams, and you're planning your work and another team planning their work. And for example, if you will use some unusual names, it will look really strange because we're planning to do it, for example, in sprint number 10, and another team, which we're going to consider to integrate, will be doing the same thing in a sprint, for example, which calls SpongeBob or Squidward or anything like that. And what does it mean for us? We won't understand them, and what does it mean about timelines, how it will be fixed, when it will be fixed. And again, if customer will see it, it's not in all cases it is good, because again, questions will arise, definitely will arise about that, because unusual names may lead to us with some contradictions and can be mixed up with all our plans. So guys, again, please be careful without identifying sprint names and any activities regarding sprint planning. So probably, yeah, please consider such fact as well when you will be playing in some events as well, and let's see what you are thinking about that, which approach you're most preferable for you.
So for this kind of event, we have more less play votes.
Hooray, finally.
Finally, let's play is winning.
Yeah.
Perhaps someone would like to share some approaches and ideas that you used as a more play approach, and it did not work as it should work, and it was like negative experience in your project. And Tatsiana, perhaps we have some questions in our chat.
No, unfortunately, no one would like to play with us.
Guys, don't be so shy, please. Share your experience.
Share experience, play with us.
Yeah, play with us. We are open to discuss all of your pains and all of your good points as well.
And
yes,
here are no crazy topics. So as long as you can think of something, drop it.
Share some experience as prior for sprint planning. If refinement was done great, the sprint planning is like just more or less confirming estimates or estimating. But if refinement was not, fully conducted as expected, we missed time for some items, the planning will be affected or can be affected.
So you mean in your team, sprint review was dependent on the sprint refinement session, yeah? I mean, exactly. You were talking about conducting refinement session, and after that, sprint planning was kind of just formal event.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, not more than formal event. Okay, it can be, yeah.
Thank
Fully
you very
support.
much. Thank you, Katarzyna.
Yeah, and usually good refinement is a way towards good sprint planning, because as you said, if refinement is done in a good manner, then sprint planning is just a piece of cake.
Maybe I was wondering, guys, how do you combine such events like estimations and process refinement sessions, or you are keeping them separately? I'm asking all of you. What do you think?
Combining.
Combining, okay. At the same time, you're estimating and you refine all of your PBIs. Okay.
Yeah, we also do the same way. It's really, you know, it's much more easy to refine and then to estimate it just at once.
Before our transformation, we kept it separately. Actually, we had two process refinements in a week plus 2 estimation sessions. But when we were growing as a team, of course, we combined them as well. And yeah, it took less time for that, and we saved a lot of time because we already knew each other and how it works and so on and so on. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we can move forward to our next event, sprint review.
Okay, sprint review. We'll see who's gonna win now. So for sprint review, like different things could be done. It depends like how the sprint review is conducted to begin with, because if it's like just one Scrum team that has good input, good outcome, like during the sprint, and then you invite your stakeholders, those could participate in the session. And for example, when you have the demo part, because as you are aware, probably sprint review has more things than just a demo, but then on the demo part, users could be, like they could be invited to sit just in front of the laptop and work with that specific delivery that was just done, just to see where are they missing some key features and stuff like that. If it could be some kind of the scaled environment, usually in scaled environment we would have different deliveries where it requires some kind of the presentation done and things like that. So we could do some kind of the creating ways of showing that. And this is also comes from personal experience, where I used to work in this scaled agile framework. And the work was not always just with actually developing something. It was sometimes with just the amending some things within the user frame, like user interface. So sometimes it was just some simple configuration and not the actual like software development. And then people struggled to understand, okay, what should they demo, what should they kind of show. And then we came up with this approach that, okay, we have to just kind of show some value, but also have fun during the review. And then we just try to come up with the different themes. So, for example, sometimes it could be, Lord of the Rings theme, where they go to destroy the ring, and kind of based on that you make the analogy that, okay, now we're going a long path, we will go like 3 or 4 PIs, and then every single PI you kind of show what has been done. And then when you actually do this so-called big bang release, which sometimes of course happens in perfect world, and then you say, yeah, finally we did that. So just based on the theme with the movies that everyone is familiar with, we can create this a bit more fun approach by presenting to the audience. Yeah, so those would be my key points here on sprint review, and what could be playful things to do.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Again, using creative ways of conducting sprint retro event may lead for all of us to some kind of misunderstanding to whom we are demonstrating created functionality, as well as from whom. And guys, actually some people may be even not aware of any films, games, etc., and they won't even understand what you are trying to achieve and what you are trying to demonstrate. For example, by using kind of Lord of the Ring area and team can mislead them as well, because they won't aware about such film at all, and they don't understand you and again what you are trying to demonstrate. As a result, at the end of the session, they will keep as probably they will keep silence during all such your presentation, but as a result, they will leave, they will finish such demonstration again with such silence, and won't understand at all that you really tried to demonstrate and to have some fun during such event. And as a result, some kind of sprint review will be turned into a misunderstanding event, and we will lose our main focus, and our probably main and key stakeholders will keep a silence as well, because they won't understand you fully. So basically, if we're trying to engage some fun activities, we should be again really careful and understand and keep in mind the main idea and the main outcome of such event, and we need to be really focused on the main result and outcome, and to get some feedbacks from key stakeholders instead of trying to not engage, but entertain our auditory generally in a general way. So yeah, again, guys, let's see what about your thoughts about such event, and how would you prefer to play or not to play?
Who's gonna win this time?
And this roundtable is also like a search for you guys to understand how the other team players can, what they think about more fun or less fun approach. Okay, Tatsiana, perhaps you have some questions or hand raise?
Nothing happens in our chat as far as I see.
My win this time as well.
Okay. You're trying to persuade Aleksandras.
It's a draw. It's a draw now.
Okay.
I convinced.
Katsiaryna, are you counting the votes for the previous the previous slides, previous ceremonies? What's the total? Maybe it's equal for now.
It's equal.
No,
yeah.
I suppose
2-2.
it was
2-2.
Yeah.
2-2. Yeah.
Okay.
The team preferred to start with more funny approaches, but when you dive deeper in some more hard tasks, we need to be more formal
Yeah.
and less play.
Or maybe I convinced all of them by the end of all events. Yeah.
Okay, and our next event.
Okay, I think now it's my time to win.
Definitely.
So this one is the easiest one, right? Because retrospective is usually considered as the most playful and fun event of all. And usually when you speak, especially with Scrum Masters, and you ask, okay, so what is your favorite event? They would usually answer retrospective, because this is the place where they can make a lot of interesting, fun things. So with retrospective, of course, I mean, you can use different check-in questions to begin with to engage the people. So how I mentioned during the daily Scrum, so same things could be applied for retrospective. So every retrospective you have like a new check-in question so that people would answer, and this way you learn more about your colleagues. This way you kind of break the ice for the retrospective. There are different retrospective formats that you can do. So if just by going to Retromat, you could find so many different ways of actually doing the retrospective than just doing a regular start, stop, keep retrospective. So And then, of course, some appreciations, kudos could be done. So, for example, you can create a board of appreciations, or you can create a board of kudos where people can, just kind of appreciate their colleagues. So yeah, retrospective is playful in the essential matter. So there are so many different creative things that could be done during this event. And yeah, the most important part, of course, is to kind of involve everyone in the discussion. So based on how your teammates are behaving. So for example, if you have one person who is always stealing the air and only talks, so then you can think of different creative ways how to kind of include more people into that. So there are like different liberating structures technique as well. When you have like a topic and then you start talking, for example, you think about a topic for alone, and then you have some thoughts like in pairs, and then you run this same technique like in like foursomes, and then as a whole group. So yeah, just including everyone in the discussion with some different playful techniques. So yeah, those would be my key points on the retrospective, and I can give a word to Ihar now.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I have not so much actually to compare with your statements because fully support you that retro is the most fun and creative event of all of we have. But we need to understand clear the main idea of such event and main outcome for this event, and not transform this event only in game. And also, guys, we should always remember that Scrum Master has it's kind of only facilitator, not entertainer, not a tamada. Yeah. Please, guys, if you are considering to play and using some kind of entertainment techniques, please stay focused and keep in mind about the main agenda. Or guys, if you are like Scrum Master or facilitator, will play with your guys all the time. It can be that, for example, next time on next retro, your guys, when you will consider to proceed without any fun activities, your guys can say, hey, stop, where's our fun games? We won't start without it. So please, Scrum Master, please prepare something funny for us. And they won't start such a retro, productive retro without it as well. So again, please bear in mind about such statements as well, and be really careful with that. But fully support that it is really kind of great, and it can be fun event by using any kind of techniques, tools which can entertain all of you and all of your teammates. But please remember about the main purpose and outcome of this event. So anyway, guys, let's see about your thoughts. What do you think about that?
I really have hopes for this one.
We'll see.
Okay, and while our audience are voting, perhaps one question from my side. Where do you get ideas for fun approaches? It's for some experience from your teams, other teams, from other Scrum Masters, books, or it's your personal ideas?
Good question, yeah.
You're asking us or the audience?
And you and the audience, but perhaps you first of all.
Yeah, so usually, I mean, there are books, but usually the books not even on the fun way. Books are on the structure, because as long as you understand how a good structure should be done for retrospective, then you can even create something yourself. But yeah, there are different, websites, like for example, the one I mentioned, RetroMat. So you just kind of randomize the retrospective, and it's gonna be structured already. And yeah, based on that, then by experience, you can just create something on your own if you want something more playful by the techniques. I really like check-in questions because I find it very fun, but also useful. Because, for example, just by giving this question, what is your most favorite book? You can learn so many things about your colleagues. and then you can also get a very nice list of books to read. So yeah, I really like those checking questions.
Actually, during one of my retro, we noticed that we have so really many common books in a shell, yeah, and as a result, we even created some additional event for book club for our guys. Yeah, it was really fun. It was really interesting. Yeah, where our guys are discussing all books that they are reading. Yeah, regarding me, probably the same like Alex said about books. I actually subscribed for so many YouTube channels for about Agile community, and also in Telegram it's about CIS countries. Also subscribed on so many channels where I've gained a lot of information about retros, about fun retros and how they should be conducted, and the main structure, how it can be changed from time to time to engage more fun. So yeah, I would say nothing like rocket science, but open resources in the internet. Guys, what about you? I mean, audience.
Well, someone would. Okay, so we have someone. Okay, Roman, please.
Guys, you cannot see me because I'm using my camera. Just give me.
Sorry, we can hardly hear you. Maybe something is with your mic.
Can you hear me now?
A bit better, yeah.
Awesome. Hey, I just wanted to ask if there is anyone experiencing the same issue as I did on my last 2 projects, where people were canceling retros because we couldn't meet the timelines, and apparently retro was the only thing that you can cancel to meet them. So apparently it's quite common when people cancel retros, aiming to make, I don't know, the work better and faster and smoother. So maybe someone is experiencing the same, or
yeah, I'm kind of familiar with such issue that sometimes people want to cancel retro because they want to meet a deadline. But we should actually look here fundamentally what is wrong, because I mean, meeting the deadline shouldn't be done, you know, on the last day of the sprint. So we should look down in the roots. Where is the problem? Why we have this problem, and where we can learn about it in retrospective. So just by explaining this to people, that actually retrospective essentially is the most important event out of all. So just by canceling this event, we send ourselves into the this wheel of, you know, of failure all the time. So just by skipping retro, we will fail all the time. We will miss the deadlines again and again and again and again, because we don't talk about it, we don't solve them, we don't think about better ways of how to do it. So that would be my answer.
Yeah, we won't be able to inspect our outcomes, and as a result to adapt to our changes. And as a result, I fully support you, Alex. And yeah, it is absolutely bad idea to skip retro, even due to deadlines, due to any kind of factors, because if we will miss it, our deadlines will be missed over and over again, because we won't be able to discuss it, why missing it regularly. Fully support Alex. Yeah,
I would also add that it's even better to actually fail once but learn from it than fail all the time, because sometimes people ask me, like, would you let your team fail? Yeah, absolutely, like 100%. I mean, if I see that people are failing, but I just really want them to feel that, you know, I really want them to feel that fail and then talk about that fail so they would learn out of it.
That's actually very common to the idea of Homo Ludens, when we take experiments, take risks, and then learn by them. So the first and primary thing to identify the weakness or the failure and to react on it, but then you have to identify the effect of this reaction. So maybe you have chosen the wrong workaround. Therefore, during next retrospective session, you can see how well was the effect of your reaction.
I hope someone can forward that invite to delivery managers and project coordinators and others, because I bet they will disagree with us failing. But yeah, thanks guys.
Please share the recording of our meeting.
Send them the recording, yeah.
Yeah.
Send them to us.
And
send them to us, yeah.
Yeah, by
Exactly.
the way, if we're just talking about our meeting today, our event today, if you would like to rate it or, you know, say thank you to our speakers or even moderators, you can do it just on the page of the event. I will share the link to the chat so you can rate there, say thank you, and finally send the meeting recording as soon as it is ready. It will be ready in about a week. So please share it with your delivery management. Feel free.
And I would like to come back to the retrospective. I had an experience in some team that after the retro, nothing changed in our project, in our approach, and in mindset, I can say. And that's why the team can feel the necessity of retro. So perhaps, guys, you can share some crucial points what should be done after retro. So team talked about something, highlighted some points, some pains, some start, keep, or something like that, and what should be the next steps after retro that team will feel that we need retro even if it's like as last day of our sprint.
So actually, if you want to address issues or actions to improve to specific person from your team, we can consider it pointless because, okay, we can discuss our problems to make kind of action points to do, but without addressing such problems to specific points will lead us to nothing actually, because at the next retro we will see that, okay, previous time we created some points to achieve, but what's next? We didn't worked with them because no one kept them during the next sprint or something like that. It is, I would say, one point. Yeah, probably Alex, if you want to add something here or just adjust your thoughts, please feel free.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said. It's like sometimes, because what you were saying, you know, in the beginning, that maybe sometimes it's actually hard, you know, to make an action, because especially when you have different dependencies. So for example, in our project, we have different problems with the change management process, and we always talk about how bad change management process is. Yes, it's bad, you know, how can we change it? We can't really change it. Okay, so what should we do? And then it becomes, you know, something that we just constantly need to push, you know, escalate to the management so they would see. And of course, this is probably where Scrum Master can step up and you know, be more involved in this and trying to, you know, escalate those problems more and more often, so that you know, those people who are actually have a power of changing that, they would listen and, you know, help out in this, because otherwise change will not happen. So that's why, for example, Scrum Masters, they are kind of being said that Scrum Master is a true leader, like instead of the servant leader that was used before, so that people would be encouraged, you know, to change the things, you know, so they would be the true change agents. So not only work with the team, but or work with the organization, work with the managers, try to show them the problem, and not be afraid, you know, of raising that. So of course it depends then on that, I would say.
Thank you. And do we have something else? Yes, we have the sprint event. One more.
Yes, the last one. So the fifth event of Scrum, which sometimes you wouldn't even think that that's an event, but apparently it is. Just, you know, combining all the things in once. in one place. So since we already talked about every single event of the sprint, so sprint in itself, what could be, you know, done to make it more fun? So some things that I try to add here as bullet points. So one thing, you know, just could be as simple as checking the mood. For example, we even have this feature at EPAM in Telescope, where you just check if the people are feeling sad, indifferent, or happy, you know, just on a daily basis, just to see how people are feeling. It could be done also on the project side. You know, you can just create some kind of the board just to see this, you know, mood check-in. You can use smiles. You can also, I don't know, use like sunny weather or rainy weather, cloudy weather, stuff like that. It gives you some kind of the understanding, you know, how the team is feeling. It can help you to spot the problems early. Because here I think it could also be related to the retrospective part, like where we discussed how many different ways there are of running retrospectives. And for example, just by, you know, stating, you know, start, stop, keep your focus on the things that are not working. And for example, there is a retrospective where you run like mad, sad, glad. So this retrospective is specifically focusing on people's feelings to understand how they feel about certain things. So here you would also focus on people's feelings to understand how they're feeling during the sprint. So additional things that could be done, you know, just occasionally creating some random meeting to play something, you know, just book some time, play some things with your team. This is fun. This is great. You know, it also helps for team building, and yeah, you know, just allocating some time for that. Also, Slack time for employees. I know this is sometimes hard to do, but it's kind of important actually. When you plan for a sprint, you should think of some kind of the Slack time. You should allocate some time for it. So Slack time can be, you know, working on the innovation ideas, on the improvements, but also could be just specifically for yourself, for learning new things, for, I don't know, doing some fun things. So bear in mind that it's nice to have. What else could be done fun during the sprint? Well, meetings like this, for example, right? We are in the sprint, but we are participating here. So we are always, you know, dedicating some time for fun activities, right? So yeah, those would be my key points probably here for the sprint itself.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Actually, not have so much to add here probably, but maybe guys, you're wondering why the sprint it is also event. At least, guys, because it is time boxed. Yeah, maybe you never thought about that, but please think about that as well and just try to create some ideas why it is again event. But anyway, considering our main points. Any of available techniques will work, especially guys for you. Nevertheless, which events we're talking about, but also, and again and again, please bear in mind that about main purpose of each Scrum event and its agenda, of course, and not turn it fully in uncontrolled thing. Always control, always staying focused about outcome of each event, and it will bring you happy during all Scrum way about all of your development process here. So probably that's all from my side here as well. Not so much as I said. Let's see about your opinions.
Yeah, and our standard question for today. How do you think it should be more or less play? And during our audience voting, also one question maybe from my side. Have you ever met some teams that emphasized from the very beginning that we would like to be less play or more play? We would like to be formal or informal, or it's up to you to bring some ideas of fun to the team?
Usually it's just a process, I would say. But when I start working with the team, I always try to bring some fun elements into that. And probably it happens, like incrementally. So you start working with the team, especially, for example, if you would join like a new project, right? So you come to the project. So at first you want to be seen as some kind of the professional, not just like a clown who, runs with with some just fun activities. So yeah, I think it's like a path of maturity for the team. So it's the same for the path of adding some incremental fun activities. Yeah, but I haven't heard any of the team who would say, no, we are done with that. We're too serious for this. Sorry.
But what do you do if you're starting to implement some activities and you have no response? I mean, for example, you create a feed with interactions with, I don't know, sharing some insights from weekends, but you see that you are the only contributor into that feed. So how do you encourage team?
You mean just like when there is a question, or?
Yeah, like when you're starting to implement more fun, how do you market it to other team members?
I think it's just comes back to leading by example. So you start doing something and then you expect people to join, because I would never kind of push anything onto people. So I'm just trying to show, okay, this is like, I don't know, fun. This is how it could be done. This is how we could be doing. And yeah, then I would expect, at least someone to join. And then, yeah, I would use then myself and that person to include even more people, into those activities. It's it's a path. It doesn't happen quickly. So you just need time for this to happen. Because I think it also relates to the team building. Because, for example, when there's a team who are newly combined, if they're like new people coming from different locations, different cultures, so then they communicate very officially, very professionally, right? So then after some time you expect some kind of the disagreements, then the team members should be fighting a bit, right? And in one of the phases, and then after some time they start to become more and more of a team, right? And then you can expect more humor in the team, more playful events in the team. And yeah, this is natural path probably for all of the teams around the world. Maybe you have, Ihar, to add something.
Yeah, actually, absolutely the same thoughts about that. I'm just trying to make such environment where all my people will feel, firstly, psychological safety, yeah, and only such environment they all will be open for any kind of other activities rather than just standard things. Yeah, and the more you are working with your teammates, the more your team is going to be like a team. Yeah.
We have a question, I see.
Yeah, we have a question. We have a raised hand from Galina. Galina, you're welcome.
Hello. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to share my experience regarding this topic.
Great.
Sure.
Particular topic. So I'm not sure whether it's common behavior or not across the teams over the world. However, for more than 2 years, I'm working with teams that consist of very mature people. They are not just very highly great experts. Yeah, they have a very high level of expertise, but they are also an average they are, how to say, they are 40 plus, let's call it. So they just don't need such high level of entertaining events and activities to be created by the Scrum Master. They are self-sufficient. Of course, having small talks at the beginning of daily Scrums and other meetings are welcomed. We can speak about different things. However, they just it's okay to ask them, guys, do you want me to create anything to get some fun? Because if you try once, if you try twice, and you didn't, and you see that they don't get satisfied, they don't get fun from this, they just don't need it, why should you try to introduce this?
I would say it's kind of matter of maturity of such people, probably.
And they, it's not about the age, you know, because they watch TV series, they like Star Wars and and other films, cartoons, even. So they
if
just
you watch Star Wars, then you can introduce the sprint review in Star Wars.
Yeah,
theme.
not. I mean that not. It's when you create some entertaining content, introduce some entertaining pieces into the meetings before deciding what might be the topics, you can come with some clarifying questions about what are their hobbies, what sort of movies they prefer, TV series, what are favorites, what sports do they like, etc. And based on the questions, based on the answers, they will try to understand them more. And based on the interests, you will introduce some smaller pieces, and they might not be fans of Harry Potter or what was that? I don't recall. So the more you know about your team, the better you understand what level of funds they really need to be introduced at the meetings. They might need something small.
Yeah, could we? I mean, I would say like it doesn't, because as you mentioned also, like it doesn't really matter how old they are, like in the team, because everyone really likes to laugh, right? Everyone loves some kind of the healthy sense of humor. So if it's you know, pleasant for everyone, if it's fun to talk about those things, if it's fun to do some kind of the themes, I think everyone will just benefit out of that. And it doesn't matter if it's like you're 20 or 50, because I used to work with older colleagues, and it's actually even more fun because they can tell you stories that you never even thought of. And I mean, they are working in the industry more years sometimes than you are alive. And yeah, I was working with one Swedish colleague who's like plus 60 plus, and she was telling me stories how she in the early 80s traveled to Moscow, and how she went to different shops that were created just for foreigners. And it was so interesting to listen from her how she experienced it from the foreigner's perspective. because I didn't know that, you know, because all the time you only speak with, I don't know, those people who actually lived in that environment, and then you can actually listen from foreigners' perspective. So it was really, really interesting, and you can learn so many, you know, different unique things about it.
Yeah, it's easy to communicate and talk on different topics when your colleagues are talkative and they are open for conversations, even on some private topics.
I was just thinking, you know, how can you call a team mature? And this is what I was just thinking, you know, while we were discussing all. And I was thinking about different topics that could be used in the team to tell if the team is mature or not. So I would say that I thought about two. So if you can discuss politics and religion in your team, I would say that the team is pretty mature enough already.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I suppose that our final result about votes is 3-3. So we understand that people would like to be as more fun as less fun. So it depends on maybe teams, approaches, and something like that. And maybe the last slide from our colleagues. Maybe Aleksandras, you would like to share your idea about this slide?
Yeah, so this is the quote is coming from one of the audiobooks I'm currently listening. It's called Behave, and they also kind of discussed about this Homo Ludens, and there was this phrase mentioned that the opposite of play is not work, it's depression. So I really like this quote. It stuck into my mind, and since we were creating this roundtable, I thought it's really gonna fit in here. So yeah, and probably like because in that same book, it's being said, you know, from the neurological part of it. So for example, we as humans, when we are born, we don't have this prefrontal cortex, and we as children, we, as Alex mentioned in the beginning, we, you know, learn by playing. And it's not only for humans, for animals as well. Like in the animal kingdom, you would always see that they learn by playing. And the interesting thing happens when we become adults. Our prefrontal cortex becomes fully developed, and our amygdala becomes fully developed. And suddenly, when we become adults, we start behaving completely differently, and we start thinking that, you know, playing is not crucial for us anymore. But that's not the truth, right? So instead, we should actually try and be playful. That will help us to change ourselves, to change the environment, and yeah, just strive for the better world. So that would be my key things here. Last thoughts.
Okay, thank you. And I suppose the last question from us to our audience. So during the whole roundtable, we called it all ceremonies or events. And what name do you use? Ceremonies or events? And do you think it's important or not? Because when we started to talk about this event and started to talk about the main points that we would like to discuss, we find out that some guys call it ceremonies and some calls it events, and for some it can be crucial differences, and we would like to know your opinion. So how do you name these events or activities, and how do you think it's important to name it exactly the same way or not? And also we have the opportunity to ask some questions or express some opinion. share your experience. And also we have, I suppose, 4 minutes left, and I would like to say thank you to our speakers. Thank you to our audience, and it was very useful and incredible talk, roundtable discussion. And I suppose that all of us hope that we will use some insights and ideas to make our life more funny or less funny as you decide to do it.
Yeah, but still do it consciously.
Yeah.
Regarding ceremonies and events, remember I was speaking that play is not a real life. It's a kind of imaginary, let's say, environment. Therefore, calling events ceremonies makes us entering this imaginary environment with actually imaginary benefits, imaginary how to call them values that we emphasize in ceremonies. So I'm still saying that it is important, but it is important when we need to emphasize these values and like shift into another environment of this play, of this Scrum and Agile world.
I don't know. From my perspective, I would say it's like important to use the correct name when you're doing something, officially. So you're doing a training, you're trying to teach people, preparing them for the exam, so they would at least, know what are the correct names. But usually those names, they have been used before and now they changed. So sometimes people, they know that, okay, those were the ceremonies, and now they don't know, for example, that the name was changed in the new Scrum guide and now it's events, for example. Same with backlog grooming, like people used to call backlog refinement backlog grooming, and sometimes they still do, even though the new name is backlog refinement. But essentially, right, those are just like the names. So probably it's more important to speak about the actual value that the event brings, and yeah, just to talk about value rather than focusing on the names. But yeah, when we are doing some kind of the trainings, then probably we need to focus on correct naming conventions as well.
Okay. Thank you all. Tatsiana, perhaps we have some questions or hand raised.
No questions so far, but I guess you have some answers from Mentimeter for the previous slide. Can we share this?
I'm not sure
No?
how we can see it.
Okay.
Press enter to show the answers, it says.
Yeah, in the bottom, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Mm.
So we have ceremonies and events.
50-50.
It's the result of our today's discussion, 50-50. Yeah. No one wins.
Just the same as we did the roundtable. It's good. Equality.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys one more time for your time, for your experience, for sharing with us your ideas, thoughts, and etc. Here you can see all our speakers today, so feel free to contact them if you would like to clarify some points or just would like to talk about some Scrum or not Scrum events and thoughts. And join our community and stay tuned.